10. Pay attention to the fit. I always have the picture of my client in mind while making fit the garment, because this is the final product that sells me. Input the accurate measurement. And hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is Inky. If you are a returning subscriber, I welcome you, and if you are also an intending subscriber, feel free to subscribe to my channel, as I'll be sharing lots of interesting tutorials and sewing tips on this channel. Today I'll be sharing with you some professional sewing tips. So if you will embark on a project, there are few but important things you will need to consider. All fashion designers will want to make clothes that look store-bought, where the inside of the garment will be as neat as outside. So in order to achieve this, you need to consider some tips I'll be listing right now. You are welcome back. The following tips are to be considered if you want to achieve a professional outlook on your garment. Number 1, cut pattern pieces accurately. Take your time while cutting your pattern pieces, and make sure you use the correct measurement while you are cutting your pattern. And if you are using the printed pattern, place it accordingly and be able to interpret all signs on your pattern. Like where you see a sign like C, which means you are cutting your fabric on fold, and where you see 2 and X sign, you are cutting 2 pieces, etc. So you must be able to interpret all these signs and symbols in order to achieve a professional outlook on your garment. Number 2, get the right fabric. For the style to come out beautiful and neat, you must get the right fabric for the right style. If you need a stretchy fabric, go for the right percentage of stretchiness. I made a jumpsuit recently and I used a fabric of very little stretchiness, and it didn't really come out well. It would have come out well if I used a stretchy fabric to achieve a good and a desirable result. Number 3, press well. Pressing is a very crucial part of sewing that will make you achieve the professional look. Some projects can't just be done without pressing. Open up sewing allowance and press for a neat result. Corners, under the bust, waist, the hems, make sure you press it as much as possible. Also take cognizance of hems, the facings too, and make sure your iron is always in a neat condition. Check the facing of your iron. Check the iron face and make sure the iron face is not rusty. Clean it up if it's rusty before you embark on your project. So check before pressing, so that you make sure your iron is in a good condition. Number 4, use a neat seam finishes. The inside of a professional garment must be as neat as the outside. You can finish the raw edges with French seams, zigzag, a zagger in many ready to wear, rolled seams, flat fell seams, and so on. Number 5, pay attention to seam allowance. Your seam allowance must not be bulky. A bulky seam allowance makes pressing difficult, thereby resulting in an amateur work. Make sure you reduce your seam allowance before you close everything up. Make sure you reduce it to like half of an inch. Having a visible seam allowance or a curve that won't lie flat will spoil your project. 6, ensure straight stitching lines. Especially when you are top stitching or edge stitching, make sure your stitching lines are straight and as straight as possible. Avoid wavy and uneven stitches. Number 7, use the right needle and machine settings. Make sure you set your machine well before you start your project. Some needle can just mount thick fabric. So if you are dealing with a thick fabric, go for a needle that will be able to mount a thick fabric. And it can be frustrating when the thread is cutting anyhow in the middle of a project. So make sure things are put in place before you start your project. Test your machine on a scrap piece of project before embarking on it. Number 8, use the right sewing supplies. In getting your sewing supplies like lining, thread, needle, buttons, applique, etc., make sure you get the matching colors where necessary, and most especially supplies that fits your project. Number 9, line up seams accurately. Whatever separate seams meet, make sure the 2 seams match up as much as possible. You can seam rip and start over again to achieve the desired result, because it's worth it. Number 10, pay attention to the fit. I always have the picture of my client in mind while making fit the garment, because this is the final product that sells me. Input the accurate measurement. and cross check afterwards. If there is any error somewhere, you must make sure you recognize it on time. So with these few points of mine, I believe you have gained one thing or the other. If you can put this into practice, you'll be able to achieve a very neat, beautiful and professional outlook on your garment. So I will see you in my next video. Until then, stay connected. The area, the tension area, and also the presser foot. So brush it, then also the bobbin area here. But apart from the bobbin area, inside this place, this part is always very dirty, so you need. Hello guys, this is Yinky. I welcome every one of you to my channel, and I say a happy new year to every one of you. I wish you all success in everything we do this new year. Thank you for your support in the previous years. We really appreciate you. And today I'll be taking you through some tips in maintaining your sewing machine and some of your sewing tools. So I'll be starting with the blackhead sewing machine, and the major things you need to do when you are maintaining your sewing machine is dusting of the sewing machine, the oiling of some areas in the sewing machine, and also the general cleaning of your sewing machine. So I will start with the blackhead. Before I move to the blackhead, I mean the manual machine, then I will move to the industrial sewing machine. Then we'll finish up with the overlocking machine. We all know that if you can properly maintain your sewing machine, it saves you time, it saves you money, and it also saves you stress. So you will need to call machine repairers every now and then, because you will have taken care of those sewing machines. It won't develop problem. You also need to avoid friction. Friction is when like two metal mix together. If there is no oil between those metal area, it will cause friction and it will cause your machine to develop problem. So I'll be showing you how to do that. The major parts that are needed to be taken care of in your sewing machine is the presser foot, the bobbin area, and also your needle. Those three major parts is very, very essential. You needed to take care of those parts while you are maintaining your sewing machine. So let's get started. So we are starting with the blackhead, the manual sewing machine. So the first thing I will do is to clean the surface area. Clean it very well with your brush. So get a good brush, or you can use any type of brush. Just make sure the dirt is removed, and or also get a piece of cloth, a very neat piece of cloth that you can use to clean the table very well, and also the machine. Then this is the presser foot. You're going to make sure you use brush to clean off any piece of fabric, piece of thread that is hanging on the presser foot. So make sure you clean it very well, remove the dirt from the presser foot. Then from that thing that looks like the teeth on the plate, so brush it also. This is the tension. Brush any dirt hanging on the tension. So then the needle clamp, clean it very well. Clean it very well. You can see the dirt I just removed. This is the type of dirt you'll be removing that you'll see. So from here, check the bobbin case. This is the bobbin area. So this is the bobbin housing, the complete bobbin housing. So we are going to clean that part now. So I first of all you can remove it from the underneath like so. Just push your machine forward like so, then remove the bobbin case. This is the bobbin case that I'm holding. Then the bobbin is inside. We also call it in Nigeria, the bobbin, we also call it reeler. Then we call the bobbin case shortule. So whichever way, remove it and place it back. Clean it very well. Make sure there is no dirt hanging inside, so that there will be a free movement. So after I have done that, the next thing I will do is to now disassemble the bobbin housing. Then I will do this carefully. I'll first of all remove this. You can see the dirt present there. So this place is always dirty. So if you work very well, this place will be dirty. There's no two way to it. So just clean it very well. Clean it very well. Use your brush to clean it, clean the inside. Just follow it the way I'm doing it. So after you have brushed the dirt off, So replace it back. The way you just remove it, just place it back. But if you are not very sure of yourself, you can leave this part. I mean the bobbin, the complete bobbin housing. So you can leave it if you are not very sure, so that you won't disassemble it and it will be a problem for you to assemble it back. So but it's not something difficult if you can just first of all study it before you remove. So just clip it back, then put the bobbin case. Then the next thing to do now is to go ahead and oil. So you can go ahead and oil your machine. So the first thing you first of all do is just to dust, remove the dirt, remove the threads, and you can go ahead. After you have removed dirt, that is when you can go ahead and oil. So you can oil now through all those holes that you can see on top of the machine. Just oil to allow free movement of your machine. So just this area, lift up the presser foot. Just study this area because it makes your work very smooth and neat. So then oil this part. After you have lifted up the presser foot, it will be easier for you to oil. So we are done with the manual sewing machine. The next one that we want to do now is how to maintain your industrial sewing machine. Your industrial sewing machine is not far different from your manual sewing machine. So also that means it's also applicable to it that you clean the bobbin area, also you clean the presser foot, and you check your needle. Make sure you are not using a blunt needle, because a blunt needle can cause more problem in your bobbin area. So after you have done that, you oil some important areas, which I'll be showing you right now. How to oil some important areas. You open up the bottom of your sewing machine. By the time you open it up, you will see those metal areas, so long pipes that like pipe-like structure there that you can see that you can put oil. Apart from the oil that is inside the sewing machine, you also need to oil those pipeline areas. Also, after you are done with that, check your belt if the belt is intact. So we are going to start by dusting the table, dusting the surface area of the sewing machine like we did for the manual sewing machine. Then after you have dusted, then brush it with your brush. Then use a damp cloth. Just put some water, because the table mostly comes in white color. So you need to be very careful and take cognizance of this. Clean very well so that it will not be dirty. Clean with water. You can put soap sometimes, but just make sure the cloth is not too wet because of the oil that is underneath. Water must not get inside the oil that is underneath the industrial sewing machine. So that's why you must be very careful with that. So I'm going to brush this area also, the tension area, and also the presser foot. So brush it. Then also the bobbin area here. But apart from the bobbin area, inside this place, this part is always very dirty, so you need to brush it. So the bobbin area of this industrial sewing machine is not very difficult. So you just brush. Then you can, this part, there is always dirt inside this that looks like a bowl. Just make sure you clean it very well. You can see, in fact, this tutorial is for my machine because it's very dirty, all the work we did during December period. So I need to clean it. So we are just cleaning it. You can see loads of fabrics inside, the pins, needles. You can see it's very dirty. It's very dirty. So you need to do all this. You don't need to wait for a machine repairer to do this for you. So just clean all these areas very well. And after you are done with this, it is when you are done with cleaning, removing dirt, that you can go ahead with oiling. So I will take brush and brush the bobbin housing. So this is the bobbin housing that I'm trying to brush. Then I will remove my bobbin case like so, the way I did for the black edge sewing machine. So I will remove it and use my brush to clean it very well, clean the inside very well. So this is normal toothbrush that I used to do this. So after I have brushed that area, then I can put the bobbin case back. So I'll just put it back. No, it's not that difficult. So this is the oil, the industrial machine oil. It comes in this white plastic. So get a good oil for your machine. Be very, very careful when you are selecting oil. And these areas are where to oil. You can see this. I will remove the cover. So all this small cover, I will remove it. Then I'll get this case that I'm going to use this to oil, because I have lost the one that came with my machine. So I need to get a better one that will be able to penetrate through the hole. So I've gotten this. I've put the industrial machine oil, because industrial machine oil is different from the manual machine oil. So get that. So I'm going to put oil here, then I'll place the cover back. So I'll lift the presser foot from here, then oil the bobbin area. I'm trying to get to the bobbin area through this part. It's very easy to get to the bobbin area through this part. So do this before, like 30 minutes before you want to sew, because this area can stain the fabric if you did not do it prior to sewing. So check the tension, check the belt also. So we are done with this now. We'll move to the overlocking machine, and the same process. Just do the general cleaning, remove all threads, remove all fabrics. You know, this is an overlocking machine, so it tends to be more dirtier than the first two that we have done. So I'm going to brush all these areas, and I did not remove my thread, because we all know that overlocking machine, setting of the thread is very somehow difficult. So it's not a small thing to set the thread of an overlocking machine. So I allow the thread to be there with the thread out. So there are some parts that has been labeled there on your sewing machine. If you look on top of your sewing machine, you will see oil. The arrow is pointing to a tiny hole that says oil on your sewing machine. That place that is being labeled oil, it means that you should put oil in that part. So check all the areas that has been labeled oil from the manufacturer, then put oil in those areas. So with all these few points of mine, I believe you have learned one or two things on how to daily maintain your sewing machine, that it will not require you to call the machine repair at all times. Until I see you next time, take good care of yourself. Bye.
Somewhere in the heart of Okota, a bustling district of Lagos, Nigeria's former capital and currently its commercial hub and cultural melting pot, sits a majestic and upscale educational institution whose uniqueness amongst institutions of its kind speaks volumes about the expansive vision of its founder and director, his wide horizons and cosmopolitan worldview, his deep intentions towards the socio-economic development of his immediate environment and his country as a whole, and his deep concern for the legacy he, and by extension those he has mandated to help actualize his vision, would bequeath to coming generations. Like the institution he founded, His Eminence Sheikh Prince Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansur Akinola Olabi Bodun Williams is a man of many dimensions. He is a business entrepreneur, a leader on both the temporal and spiritual levels, a scholar, and an accomplished manager of men and resources. This is reflected not only in his royal background as a scion of the two ruling houses in Lagos, or in his rich and varied experiences in all the places life has taken him so far, but also in the character of his creation, the first Islamic English Education Foundation Academy, also known as FAEF Academy.
When Islamic principle activities came into my life, of course, I started publishing journals Force of Islam International Journals. Then it occurred to me that that one was not taking care of the little ones, hence there should be a school for the little ones. More so, to bring to an end, if possible, what we went through, where we go to secular school in the morning and have to go to Arabic school in the evenings. That is not too good for today's learning process. And then I had to pioneer something that can embrace both at a go, which people thought it can never be possible. But Allah helped me now to pioneer such. Even the journals are pioneered, made way for so many Islamic journals later. The same thing, this school is the first of its kind all over the world. That they brought about my person being turned to a consultant in the modern day Islamic education.
This is a school which, since its inception in 1984, has blazed the trail in combining the best of Islamic instruction with the best of Western formal education at the nursery, primary, post-primary and advanced levels, with a view towards inculcating in the minds, hearts and consciousness of young Muslims the most sublime learning, tenets and values of both worlds. Located at number 11 Prince Hamidu Williams Way /9 Chief Wachuku Drive in Okota, Lagos, this unique institution, which prides itself in being the oldest continually operating private school of its kind in Nigeria, marks a radical departure from what obtained in former times when Islamic and Western education and standards were mutually exclusive and often at odds with each other, a situation in which students imbibed the trappings of Western education but were left spiritually empty.
I came into it because I want to save the future of Muslim kids, not going through the hassles that people like us went through in acquiring Islamic education and being a proper Muslim. Today, mashallah, I'm grateful to God that I've been able to pioneer what people thought wasn't possible, bridging both secular education and Islamic education, all going on the same level as you must have seen today. It wasn't that easy all along. And if people are saying that, why are you bothering yourself about it? What is the big deal about? I said, that's not a big deal. Because we are first-class citizens of them, and the Muslims of now too should be first-class citizens.
Sheikh Williams' passion for excellence in this most innovative of endeavors is born out of his desire not only to uphold the high standards and quality of life and to pass on the values on which he grew up, but also to correct the anomaly occasioned by the dichotomy between the Islamic and Western models of education. His Eminence Sheikh Prince Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansur Akinola Olabi Bodunrin Williams was born in the mid-1950s into the large, aristocratic and influential Williams family of Itakose Olowogbowo in Eko, as Lagos was called before the advent of Europeans on these shores. An important seat of traditional authority which has served as a stronghold of the power and majesty of the Obas of Lagos from time immemorial, the ancient community of Eko was a thriving center of commerce as far back as pre-colonial days.
I'm a typical Eko boy. Eko in Lagos State. Alhamdulillah, I was given birth to on Lagos Island proper. I say Eko proper now, island proper. The island that was known as at the time I was giving birth to, proper, used to be Lagos Island, where we have Isaloko, Ologbo, and the rest.
A coastal community, it still enjoys the serenity occasioned by its auspicious location along an extensive shoreline characterized by lagoons, pristine beaches, luxuriant vegetation, and the refreshing breeze of the Atlantic Ocean. Not only was it agriculturally self-sufficient even back in the day, Eko is surrounded by nature's bounty of all kinds, including a rich supply of seafood from the lagoons and the ocean. From its culturally homogeneous beginnings, the area has over the years seen a tremendous influx of foreigners from all over the country and beyond. Over the years, alas, Eko has lost its innocence. Today, it's a bubbling but crowded city in Lagos, the former capital of Nigeria. This has, however, not diminished its historic and cultural importance in the life of the state and the nation as a whole. With its numerous monuments and historical landmarks, such as the Iga Idugono, the Palace of the Oba of Lagos, the Enuowa Mosque, as well as the first public water tap in Nigeria, to name a few, it is a living, breathing museum chronicling the history, arts and culture of Lagos and indeed of Nigeria. In fact, it can be said without any fear of contradiction that Eko remains in a timeless way the very heart of Lagos State. On both sides of his family lineage, His Eminence Sheikh Prince Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansur Akinola Williams descended from royalty. His father, Prince Lamido Hamidu Akombiaro Williams, now of blessed memory, of whom Prince Muhammad was the 12th child, was among the most powerful and influential personalities in the Lagos Island of his time. A double prince from both the Akinsemoyin and Ologun Kutere ruling houses of Lagos Island. His family tree on his father's, that is the Williams side, also boasts of connections to the lineage of the Awujale, the paramount ruler of Ijebu land, as well as to the Dagburewe ruling house of Idowa.
Williams from the beginning are great merchants. They are the earlier trading partners with the English people. Hence, the family house is very close to the marina where the foreign ship arrives, and they are the one that trade with all these foreign merchants from England, from Portugal, and the rest like that.
A highly successful entrepreneur, Prince Lamido Hamidu Akombiaro Williams was an importer of textile and garment-related equipment, products and accessories such as sewing machines, buttons, buckles, needles and threads, etc. Not only did he set up the first garment industry in Nigeria, he was also a trendsetter in the nation's fashion and textile industry of the time. He introduced new and hitherto unknown clothes-making devices and other industrial goods into Nigeria, in partnership with German and other Western companies. In addition, Prince Lamido Williams also had major investments in goldsmithing. On his maternal side, His Eminence Prince Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansur Williams is the son of Olori Agba Kosenotu Iyajua Aduni Williams, who holds the titles of Borokini Adini of Aguda Central Mosque in Aguda, Surulere, Lagos, and the Alari Adini of Nawaruddin Society of Nigeria, among others. She is the daughter of Alhaja Chief Sinotu Atupa Palo, first Iya Adini of Lagos Central Mosque, also the Iya Adini of Lagos and later of Nigeria. equally from the lineage of Eletu Odigbo of Lagos, a family of noblemen who act as the Prime Minister of the Oba of Lagos and historically served as the principal kingmaker and traditional Prime Minister of Eko. She is also from the Olorogun Ide chieftaincy of Lagos State. A highly regarded matriarch, the Sheikh's mother is an influential market leader with a thriving establishment in the Ereko, Idumota, Okuawo Marina district of Lagos.
Sheikh Mansour Williams Obalola. His father was my his father was my stepfather. So I was somehow brought up in Sheikh Mansour Williams' father's house at Agboleoke on the Lagos Island. And so his own mother, I think, was the third or fourth wife of his father. So he's a junior brother to me. For him, for children, for peoples, that goes to show how a disciplinarian he is. Because if you are not disciplined by yourself, if you yourself are not disciplined, I can't see how you can establish a school where you have to deal with children who are just growing up, where you are going to mentor people from different homes, from different characters and things like that. So that goes to show you that he is a very disciplined man.
Historically, Eko is one of the earliest communities in what later became Lagos State of Nigeria to receive the benefits of Western formal education, with the advent of missionary schools established by various churches. In spite of the fact that about 95% of the population of Eko was made up of Muslim adherents, these missionary schools were enthusiastically patronized, especially by members of the community's elite, including the Williams family patriarch, who sent his young son, Prince Muhammad, to the Aminu Kosoko Kindergarten School, Iga Kosoko, Ereko, Idumota, where he commenced his educational journey. Not to be outdone, however, these schools were soon followed by their Islamic counterparts, as reputable movements such as Ansaruddin, Ahmadiyya, and others also began to stamp their educational footprint on the social landscape of the area. After his primary education at the Ansaruddin Primary School at Alakoro, Marina, Lagos Island, the young Prince Muhammad proceeded to the prestigious Ahmadiyya College, now known as Anwar College, which was established at the time as the Islamic equivalent of such icons of Western-style educational distinction as King's College, St. Gregory's College, St. Finbarr's College, and Igbobi College. The practice among the elite class in colonial Nigeria was usually to dispatch their children and wards off to England in search of the proverbial golden fleece as soon as they had concluded their secondary education. The Williams family was no exception. Before being sent off, however, the young Prince Muhammad Mansour al-Mansur Williams was first obliged to get some work training in Nigeria, in preparation for which he enrolled at the Marina headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Preventive Service, which was a required step towards a career in the Nigeria Customs Service at the time.
I got recruited into the customs accidentally. I never for once prepared to work with customs nor any other organization of any kind. After my secondary school education, while awaiting my movement from Lagos to England, the type of training we had in those days, every morning, Daily Times newspaper, another dailies will be dropped at our father's table, and after the head of the family must have gone through it, we too will have access to it, and one particular day like that, and usually I would have retired from a boy's room into my mother's bedroom, of course, with other wives, of course, So that particular day, I instead of flipping through the newspaper at my father's sitting room, I decided to retire in my mother's bedroom, and when I was in my mother's bedroom, going through the daily newspaper, Daily Times, of course, there was this advert calling for recruitment of Lagos State origin into Nigerian Customs. Of course, Nigerian Customs headquarters was just a stone thrown away from my house. Was at Marina. My house is on Eriko. It's just some 10 minutes walk. Oh, no, sorry. Less than 10 minutes walk. So I just maybe out of what, I just left my mother's room and I walked into the place. Guess what? There are people already on queue. I joined the queue, and I'm sure people will say, "What is this man talking about?" But that is the reality. That is the fact. And before I know it, it was my turn, and I was asked to step onto a particular stand that has facilities to determine your height, your this, your that. And I believe it, I got recruited into the customs. Just like that.
He followed this up with further training at the police college in Kaduna, and thereafter at the customs training school, Harvey Road, Yaba, Lagos.
We were dispatched to customs training place at Harvey Road, Yaba. So I had a full police training and customs training, and before I know it, I was posted to Apapa Premier Port. From there, the next thing I saw was my passport printed, my passport notice in the daily newspaper. Then the next thing being dispatched to England. Then after my sojourn in England, I returned to Nigeria for National Service. National Service posted me to Ministry of Finance. That time, as a foreign graduate, whenever we are available, we start our NYSC, not what they have now. Then I've had a baby girl. My brother says, since you are now a father, you have to sort yourself out before your baby is ready to join you back in Nigeria, and the mother, blah, blah, like that.
At the end of his training and in the course of his stewardship with the Nigerian Customs Service, the young Prince Muhammad Mansour Williams eventually departed the shores of Nigeria for England to study for a degree in accountancy. However, that plan had to be adjusted on account of the obligations that came with his place in the family, which made it impractical for him to be away from his family, especially his aging parents, for the 7 years it would take to finish his studies. It was a change which called for him to shelve his quest for an accountancy degree for a course of shorter duration, namely marketing, of which he had been an ardent student and to which he would add other important business-related certifications in later life.
I studied in England. I had in mind of of, accountancy, the dean of my department had a meeting with foreign students immediately our resumption. And among the questions raised with us foreign students, among the questions were, do we have aged parents back home back home in our various countries? Some of us says yes, some of us says no.
By every measure, the young Prince William's studies, and indeed his entire sojourn in the United Kingdom, was highly eventful. For the most part, it was an adventure even. Whether in the classroom or out of it during field work, or as so often happened, traversing Europe in search of business and commercial opportunities, there was never a dull moment for the entrepreneurial instincts of His Eminence, Prince Mohammed Mansour Al Mansour Williams.
I did a project with the Stock Exchange of England, and that brought about my project being recognized and sponsored by Standard Chartered Bank of England on courier service. And immediately I paid the visit to Nigeria, met with then President of then Head of State of Nigeria, General Obasanjo. I had a meeting with him and one or two other members of his cabinet. And the general just remarked straightforward that you young man, it's like you want to enter into competition with our P&T. I said, what is P&T? I asked him, it's alive. He said, Post and Telecommunication. I said, no, sir. This one is not a Post and Telecommunication. This one is Korea. This one is delivering of consignment of whatever that needs to be delivered from door to door, for one and one. It was like, this young man. That was the end of that. I had to return to England. Only for me to pay a visit the following year. Only for me to visit Nigeria the following year on holiday. Then there was this one around the Yaba area called the World Courier Service. There's someone said that it was your project. So that has been what this country is, and then with that we can't move anywhere.
A year after his graduation, the life journey of His Eminence Prince Sheikh Mohammed Mansour Al Mansour Williams was nearly marred by a harrowing experience closer to home. The West African nation of Liberia was mired in the bloody aftermath of the April 12, 1980 coup d'etat led by Master Sergeant Samuel Doe, which toppled and swept away the leading members of the previous ruling class under the regime of President William Tolbert in a shower of bullets. While in the capital Monrovia on a private visit to the family of the then Speaker of the Liberian Parliament at the time, known as the Henrys, whose patriarch, the Honorable Richard A. Henrys, was among those executed in the aftermath of the coup, Prince Williams was caught up in the deadly whirlwind of events there and nearly lost his life. Fortunately, he was able to escape a tragic fate, shaken but unhurt. It was an experience he was never going to forget in a hurry. On his return to Nigeria, His Eminence Prince Mohammed Mansour Al Mansour Williams resumed his employment with the Nigerian Customs Service in earnest, beginning with a posting to the Federal Ministry of Finance, under whose purview the Customs Service was at the time, for his mandatory one-year National Youth Service. And so began a short but eventful career which over the years had its fair share of highs and lows, punctuated by periodic postings, promotions and recognitions, as well as no small amount of workplace drama and high-stakes intrigues, much of which was politically motivated.
Yeah, I am again with NYSC, posted me to Ministry of Finance. While documenting me, discovered that I was once in the customs. From there, my file was brought out, and I was dispatched to full field as a custom personnel. This time around, as a senior officer, and I didn't have to go for further training again. Well, that was his sojourn.
Prince William's controversial departure from the Nigerian Customs Service in 1984 marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new one. As he consolidated on his private business interests, marketing a wide range of products locally and internationally, he also inculcated the same business principles and the same marketing savvy that has ensured the exponential growth of his businesses and commensurate increase in his net worth into his family members, especially his children. He also went on to acquire further academic and professional certifications, all of which undoubtedly came in handy when it came time for him to venture into the challenging field of educational management with the establishment of the first Islamic English Education Foundation, FAEF Academy. No one has been more instrumental to the phenomenal growth in the profile and fortunes of Prince Sheikh Muhammad Mansour Al Mansour Williams' business, and in particular the FAEF Academy, than his devoted wife, Olori Mariam Antonia Neka Mansour Al Mansour Williams. An ethnic Igbo by birth, originally from the community of Umoji in the Idemili North local government area of Anambra State, Nigeria. She met her future husband in the 1990s in Lagos.
I must say that my husband is one of the most misunderstood person because of his disposition to things and because of his ruggedness in having his way and all that. So a lot of people may even openly pronounce he's a wicked man, kind of. But to be honest, he's one of the nicest person I've ever known. He's kind, he's philanthropic. He, like I said, is an extremist. If he want to give out, he give out without looking back. That you yourself be wondering, why are you doing so much?
As their relationship blossomed, so did her interest in the operations of the FAEF Academy increase. And over time, she began to get more and more involved in its affairs, even when she had a day job at a Lagos-based law firm at the time.
I engaged people running the school for me. They were unable to do it as the vision I have or the vision I saw. So in the process, I was forced to engage foreigners to go and manage it for me. I brought Lebanese. They failed. While the school was being managed by foreigners, the Sudanese, couple of them, both male and female. It was about that time I met with my wife. The school has been years before meeting her. When I met with her, because of our discussion, I let her know I have a school that is not on the page. It's not. So, and that time, she works with a law firm. She now said to me that I should allow her to be visiting the place, and they're updating me. I said, okay, no problem. So, our earlier submission was a terrible report about what she discovered. And in the process, after a while, she said, I should allow her to be more visible. But from day one of this school, I enrolled my children in this place from day one. I would draw some of them from schools like Fountain School at Adelabu in 1985 to this place.
From a very early stage, I've been a student of FAEF, and my dad obviously being the owner of FAEF. We had to maintain kind of a gap in the relationship because I've had to see him as every other student saw him and not necessarily as a dad. And when you look at the school year and the school calendar, you do spend most of the year in school as opposed to being at home. So I would say at the beginning there was almost that kind of hierarchy in terms of, oh, this is the owner of the school I attend, and then very few times being my dad. But we see that up until graduation and graduation from 5, and then he became my dad.
The relationship between these two personalities was a highly improbable one by every measure, as they came from such disparate backgrounds. He was Yoruba and she was Igbo. He was an Islamic cleric and an ardent scholar of the Quran, and she was the daughter of Chief Albert Musa, known by his traditional chieftaincy title of Onowu, who was a staunch Christian along with the rest of his family.
The day I met with her, the cross, the Christian or the cross, Christian sign of religion, the cross on her neck, in the places on my neck, I think my neck will break. I met her with the most macro skirt you can think of. She was barely returned from England to Nigeria at that time. I met her with already a suitor, being an Igbo woman. I met her with so many hopes and dreams. Today, she embraced my vision, not my dreams, but my vision. And she's always there. So whenever it comes to me to further encourage her, to elevate her spirit, I do that. Among which I did, as I said, either yesterday or today, telling her that, my dear, beside God Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are the next person I know and do see. Whenever I look forward, whenever I look at my front, you are there. If I check my back from the mirror, I see you there. If I look at the sky, you are there. If I look at the ground, you are there. Left, you are there. Right, you are there. All around me, you are always there. I couldn't have asked for more.
And they have the kind of relationship where they are friends, and you see that they can talk to each other all the time. They can talk to each other anytime, and it's nice to see that because you know that they have that connection. They can lean on each other. There's never a bored moment kind of between them. They always make each other laugh. They always kind of nitpick on each other and look for each other's trouble, which it's obviously keeps the relationship alive and keeps the fun around between the both of them. They obviously work together as well, so there's that relationship and that connection to from personal life to work life.
While His Eminence the Prince came from a paramilitary and business background, she was from an academic background. Expectedly, therefore, this relationship was not without its fair share of opposition and other challenges. How did they surmount this opposition? In the end, as the Sheikh himself likes to put it, it was simply the call of destiny.
She's a mother, she's a sister, she's a friend, she's a companion. Guess what? I'm the only thing she has. That I know. That's why whenever, till date, she's yet to have a Yoruba name. That she already she knows her Yoruba name, but she has not been named, but she knows the name. I continue asking her to wait until when she will be ceremoniously be given the name. I pray Allah to spare our lives to be able to celebrate such.
The union is blessed with 6 children, 5 females and 1 male. They are as follows: Princess Mrs. Miriam Morayo Benson, Princess Mrs. Bashira Adebodun Hyman, Princess Khadija Mansour Williams, Prince Muhammad Baba Mansour Williams, Princess Asma Mansour Williams, and Princess Mrs. Aisha Nkechinyere Mansour Williams Garba.
I would describe my father as a very loving man, very industrious, very meticulous, very disciplined, very principled, very wise, and a lover of Lagos State, of Eko, the real Eko. He's a passionate lover of Lagos State.
My dad is a wonderful father and grandfather. He really enjoys having his family around, especially his grandchildren. You should see the way he watches them with love. I remember one day he was at my house and we're in the garden, it was summer, and he was dancing with the children to Nigerian songs, and you could see everyone was having a good time and you could tell he was happy. I remember another time he was with my son. Then my son was 2 years old. And they were playing. My son was making him take toys back and forth. And he kept him on his feet for quite a while. And I remember even I was saying, Daddy, sit down, thinking about, he must be getting tired. But he just carried on. And you could just tell that things like that bring him so much joy. Also, my dad has a good sense of humor. He enjoys a good laugh. And he has this way of injecting humor into different scenarios to kind of make light of the mood. One of the things I also remember about my father recently, when I had my daughter, and I was going to name her Adiola. And I remember talking to my dad about this. And he could tell the love he felt for my mum and, the way he felt that love for my daughter. And he thought about the name. And he put so much thought into it and how it would be lovely for my daughter to share that name, mainly because it was my mom's name and it's something special to him. And that's how he holds family. We're special to him.
My dad is definitely an onion. There's lots of layers for sure. I think he is definitely one of the smartest people I know. I say that all the time. I'm always running to him for business advice, work advice. Very smart, very intellectual, very intuitive as well. He has a great foresight, so it's a good person to kind of help manage things, because he can, it will probably envisage what is going to happen before it even happens and can guide and manage. And of course, a great entrepreneur, a great visionary as well. You can see with IF, and definitely without a doubt as being a strong kind of bond with the family, keeping everyone together, checking up on everyone, making sure that everyone stays really tight, close-knit and well-connected.
I would describe my dad as a very principled man, and one of the first things that comes to mind when I think about him is Islam. So my dad is very known for his faith, and he translates this into his everyday life, his everyday activities. You can't miss that about him. It's really just there. He's also a disciplinarian. He owns a school, as you would have seen from like most of the video. He owns a school, and so he has to have that element of discipline in him, which also reflects in how people see him and what he does on a day-to-day basis. But besides that, he's a very fun person. He loves to dance. He likes to move his body. He really loves like exercising, and just being fully there in anything that he's doing. But he's a very fun person. He's very chatty. I really love chatting with my dad, and I think that's a side of him that most of his family see, and not everybody.
At the time of this production, the couple is also blessed with 5 grandchildren, namely Princess Amina Tamilori Benson, Prince Ramadan Shemilori Benson, Princess Fatima Darasimi Benson, Prince Kamis Oluwajimi Hyman, and Princess Monsura Ella Adiola Hyman.
My father's relationship with his grandchildren is a very, very loving one. My father dotes on his grandchildren. They love him so much. They always look forward to spending time with him. Whenever they are with him, they hardly want to leave him. because he's always telling them stories of his childhood and they're always fascinated. He always encourages them to speak Yoruba, to learn Yoruba. He will tell them when next you're coming, you must know how to greet in Yoruba, you must know how to say this in Yoruba. They love him so much and he loves them equally.
His love for the children is, he spoils them as much as he can. Far more than he do spoil me. Even what they don't crave for, he makes sure he crave for it for themselves, for them, and make sure they have it. And I'm so grateful to him for that, because today our children, they don't look left and right or whatever. Whatever it is they've seen today, they've already, enjoy it, with us.
Having imbibed the life lessons and values inculcated in them right from their formative years by their parents, the Williams offspring have gone on to prove their mettle to the outside world, recording impressive academic, professional and personal milestones of their own to the pride and delight of their devoted parents.
My dad is a very disciplined and principled man, and that's how a lot of people would describe him. And I think that stems from the fact that he's a lover of excellence. He wants everything he does to be very, very good, outstanding. So he doesn't expect less from anyone around him. So he would demand the very best from you. So he would not let you be ill-disciplined, and he will not let you not give your very best. So working with my dad, being with my dad, you must always be willing to give an excellent output.
A lot of us have been impacted by his discipline and his principles. I would speak for myself. Because of my dad, I've unconsciously picked up a lot of traits that have helped me in my adult life. For instance, he's made me to become very independent, not to rely on people. And as an adult now, I see the benefit of that, because one of the easiest ways to get things done for yourself is to believe in yourself and do it on your own.
That discipline definitely helps. It really helps. Because when we first went to college, when we first lived away from the family, you do realize that there's certain things that you do and then you don't realize you kind of picked up from not being able to do certain things, or just the way we're being brought up. And I can definitely attest to the fact that if there's anything about my life so far from my adulthood, is that I've definitely been more not necessarily disciplined, but just more respectful of life in itself and just of my person, because I've been able to pick up on some of those values. I'll call them values, not disciplines, actually values that the discipline instilled in me.
Yes, my father is a disciplinarian and he's very strict. I completely agree. But he's a man with very high expectations and he's very principled. And I have seen in different scenarios where he wouldn't accept less than the best, either from children or adults, but he also he gives the same of himself. One of the most comforting things about having my father as my father is that I know he's always praying for me, my children, my husband, and my siblings. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for the loving and kind father that I have.
I always say to people, despite his disciplinary disposition, he is a very good man who thinks of others, irrespective of who you are and where you come from.
The coming of Olori Mariam Mansour Al-Mansour Williams into the administration of the FIAF Academy has over the years brought about a transformation in its profile and fortunes, so that the institution has asserted itself as a center of academic excellence in line with its mission statement, namely, to create an enabling environment where great importance is attached to quality teaching blended with strict moral upbringing according to Islamic tenets, wherein emphasis is placed on the total empowerment and development of our pupils and students morally, spiritually, physically, and academically, as well as its overall vision, which is to inculcate qualitative secular education along with uncompromising, thorough, modern-day Islamic teachings, culture, and values, supported with Quranic reading, memorization, and Arabic language.
In this school, the children are taught how to read and write Arabic. With that, they can hold Quran at any given time and read it and understand it. Then they have been trained on memorization of the Quran itself. This memorization is different from now when they are good enough in memorization. Now reading without looking at the text with what we call tajweed.
In line with its mission and vision, therefore, the FAEF Academy emphasizes the teaching of religious subjects such as Islamic religious knowledge, Islamic jurisprudence, Quranic memorization, and Arabic language.
As the name of the school connotes, that is the First Islamic English Education Foundation, we lay particular attention on the two sides, that is the English aspect of education and the Islamic aspect, without compromising one to the other.
The school also organizes weekend classes in Arabic and Islamic jurisprudence for adults. This all-encompassing educational paradigm is aimed at orientating the children while still at an impressionable age on morals, ethics, and basic decency, including how to dress, eat, sleep, and conduct themselves in public.
Yeah, the standard year in year out has been consistent and just increasing and improving, and I think being in a position to see it from two different angles, from two different views as well, you do really see that these kids are well-mannered. It is actually baffling to see they are very, very well-mannered. And I think if kids can go out into the world with this level of training, then you just almost always know that the sky is only the starting point, really. So yes, I'll say it's definitely even done more than enough.
An ultra-modern co-educational institution, FAEF Academy boasts of nursery, primary, secondary, and advanced sections. Its day-to-day operations and the general ambience of its premises are a model of organization and efficiency. Each classroom, for example, seats no more than 20 students, with male students on one side and their female counterparts on the other. Ablution points within the premises are also separated for male and female students and staff. The same goes for the 50 toilet facilities situated on the premises.
We have well over large water reservoirs. We have over about 18 large water reservoirs that we have children that uses the water for ablution as they like, 5 times a day. Water bathing, not 10, not 20, not 100 of them. Bathing morning and night, washing of clothes, toileting.
Thanks to this uncompromising emphasis on excellence both in academic and moral upbringing, FAEF Academy has enjoyed numerous recognitions, awards, and honors from multiple stakeholders in the sectors of education and youth development in Lagos State and beyond, including the 2008, 2009, and 2021 National Quality School Award, an annual honor instituted by the Quality Management Development Institute in Lagos to recognize educational organizations and individuals adjudged to have distinguished themselves when measured against the framework of global best practices in education. FAEF Academy offers a comprehensive educational package which encompasses all academic subjects, including language arts, mathematics, social studies, and science. In addition, however, the curriculum is made more robust and holistic by such non-academic but equally important subjects and programs as physical education, art, health and career planning, and information technology.
In school curriculum, we run 3 major curriculums: Nigerian curriculum, British, and Islamic curriculum, which is Islamic culture.
We have an in-house gym where the children enjoy themselves. Even while they're in classroom, they do go in there to enjoy themselves.
Not to mention the numerous excursions that have taken the students to various countries along the West African coast, such as Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire, as well as various states across Nigeria. All these activities have gone a long way to enrich and challenge successive generations of students to ever higher levels of achievement and competence as they prepare to engage the emerging global marketplace of goods, services, information, and ideas. In the process, FAEF Academy has produced a first-class core of alumni who are excelling both locally and internationally in their respective fields of professional and vocational endeavor, and serving as proud ambassadors of their alma mater. Worthy of mention in this regard is Dr. Abdul Hasib Suenu, who holds a PhD from the University of Canterbury in England and now works in the office of the Managing Director of the World Bank in Washington, D.C., USA. In the end, FAEF Academy has, in its almost 4 decades of existence, demonstrated its commitment towards the actualization of its most fundamental objective, namely the formation of Muslim character in line with the following statement: a Muslim pursues spiritual goals through all his or her worldly endeavors. His or her behavior embodies and reflects Islamic morals and values. Pursuit of knowledge is among a Muslim's highest priorities, and a spirit of inquiry is a prerequisite. Faith and action work together to lead a Muslim toward higher knowledge and progress, sound individual life choices, and service to society. In a world of pervasive violence, moral corruption, political upheaval, and increasing lack of personal responsibility, FAEF Academy is developing in her students the values of honesty, compassion, self-esteem, and respect for others, pride in honest work, a commitment to justice, and an acceptance of differences. And those are the values that will continue to guide the growth and trajectory of FAEF Academy in the years and years to come, inshallah. A key factor in the success of FAEF Academy all these years has been the loyalty, dedication, hard work, and commitment of its workforce, both academic and non-academic.
Ó ti wà ní custom títí tó fi di kan dá léèwé yìí sílẹ̀. Láti ìgbà tí mo lè ti mọ̀ wọ́n pẹ̀lú léèwé yìí, wọ́n ń take care gbogbo àdúgbò yìí ni, ká má jẹ́ wá sọ pé iléèwé yìí in particular. Wọ́n take care gbogbo ẹ̀, àtọ̀sán àtòru ṣé kìkì sùn nítorí ọmọ ọlọ́mọ tó wà níbí báyìí. Ìyàwó wọn náà the same thing, bákan náà ni wọ́n jọ ń ṣe iṣẹ́ yẹn hand to hand. Anything tó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ báyìí, wọ́n máa pè ní emergency, wọ́n ní kí n máa bọ̀ kíákíá o, kán lè romi lo. Tí mi ò bá débi ṣéèkì ò ní sùn, bí n bá débi pàápàá, ó dìgbà tá a bá rectify, tá a bá ṣe iṣẹ́ yẹn láti dájú débi pé tọ́wọ́n ọmọ yẹn tán fi ní problem, wọ́n fẹ́ ru lómi ni o, wọ́n fẹ́ lo anything ni o, tán máa rí lò. Bó dẹ̀ ṣe iṣẹ́ electrical náà ni pé iná ṣe kíní kan gbogbo ẹ wo àwọn big gen tó wà ńbẹ̀ yẹn tó jẹ́ pé bí iná kì í kú ní FAEF pé wọ́n múná lọ rárá, wọ́n ní transformer àti NEPA fúnra ara wọn tán rà, ó wà lórí òpó. Apart lérí yẹn, wọ́n tún wá ní àwọn big giant gen mẹ́ta nínú ọgbà yìí torí pé kó má sì failure of NEPA.
I see them as role models because everything they do, they tend to do it in a way that the people that are watching can copy from them. And if you do that, you see that you live a very simple lifestyle. Their discipline, Sheikh discipline is to the highest standard, I would say 100%. For them to sacrifice their own pleasure to come and live a life in the school. They live in the school, they stay with the children, live in the hostel. They want the children to copy from them. And they will be happy to if staff can copy and emulate them. That will help the system because our students here, once they go out, that impact, you will see it in them.
Sheikh and his wife are very caring. They've been playing a fatherly and motherly role, not just for the staff, for the students, for the pupils. It marvels me at times the way they play with them as if they are their children. And there's also done so to the staff by thinking in such a way that the staff will always have it better.
I've been working with Sheikh Madam for over a decade now. One, it has helped me in the area of collaboration. Collaboration in the sense that as a team, you always work as a team and listen to other people's opinion before you take certain decision. One. Then again, working with them has also built my own personality. So it has also given me opportunity to rediscover some of my own talents. And working with them too has given me the kind of leadership styles that outside there, when I handle issues, people are also looking up to me as a role model. And all this is, I get them, I learned all these things from them, from their own leadership style.
Sheikh is very good. Madam too is very, very nice. She takes care of all of us. She talks to us, she advises us. She comes to the hostel, she talks to us. She looks after us. She makes sure that all the things we need are there with us. She gives us advices. Sheikh also comes to our hostel, checks our bed, our things, if we are all right. Make sure that we make sure that we know what we came to this school for and everything.
Sheikh is a very lovely father. He is the person that I know that is highly disciplined, and he always wants to impact that discipline into children. Madam is a very caring and lovely mother. She listens to every complaint that you make to her. She's very nice. She's very prayerful. And I pray that Allah grants both of them long life and prosperity.
The Williams family is a close-knit one, where the bonds of love, friendship and loyalty are palpable, thanks to the unyielding devotion of a patriarch and matriarch whose large hearts and generous spirits are a source of comfort and succor to family and non-family members alike, and whose home has over the years become a sanctuary for many. Family gatherings such as Eids, naming ceremonies, housewarmings, weddings and reunions are like festivals in celebration of Almighty Allah's abundant blessings upon the family and an occasion for the reaffirmation of solidarity among the family members. The Williams children's pride and gratitude to their parents for their devotion and sacrifice over the years is replicated in the attitudes of their respective spouses, who now consider themselves sons rather than sons-in-law of His Eminence, the Sheikh and Olori Mansour Al-Mansur Williams.
My father-in-law is the most simple and most religious man I've ever seen. The relationship between myself and himself is very cordial, and I thank God for his advices. Whenever my wife and my kids go over to his place for a visit, we are always over-pampered and we are never in a hurry to leave. I thank God for his life and I wish him all the best, and may he enjoy the fruits of his labor.
When I last visited Lagos, my father-in-law was so hospitable and welcoming. He gave us his driving vehicle to go sightseeing, and his warmth and hospitality remains the same when he visits the UK. He loves seeing his grandchildren and having us around. I remember seeing the pictures from the naming ceremony held in Lagos for my son and thinking of his generosity and affection towards his family. I have also heard how this is extended beyond his family. My children love their granddad and look forward to seeing him again soon.
I think the word that comes to mind now when I think about my father-in-law, when I think about the Sheikh, is fun, how jovial he is as a person. And that is on first impression, that's probably not the first impression you get really about the Sheikh. Once you think about the Sheikh, or when you see him for the very first time, you see the tough exterior, you see a disciplinarian, you see a no-nonsense person, and he's all of that. But in addition to that, once you get to know him, and once you get to know him, you find out that he's a fun, charismatic, quite chatty person. You never run out of topics to discuss when you're talking with the Sheikh. Always use the opportunity to also part important nuggets of wisdom. I always enjoy having conversations with him when we're fortunate to. So that's, I think, the first thing, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the Sheikh. His jovial nature, his chatty nature, it just makes you feel welcome in and around his presence.
His Eminence Sheikh Prince Mohammed Mansour Al Mansour Williams believes he wouldn't have been quite the man he is today without the love and support of his first wife, the late Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams, fondly known as Onidoko, who passed on in 1989 at the tender age of 32 years. Over 3 decades after her passing, Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams remains a towering and unforgettable presence in the life of the Williams family, as attested to by the thoughtful acts of remembrance, large and small, that the Sheikh and his household carry out in her memory. Sheikh Williams remembers the late Olori as an exceptional and irreplaceable epitome of every positive human virtue. She was the embodiment of humility and unconditional respect for persons, irrespective of their station in life. In spite of her privileged upbringing, Olori Monsurat Adeola Williams was submissive to a fault, not just to her husband or her parents and in-laws, but to all who came her way. Over the years, many have posed this question: why would a crown prince from the 2 ruling houses of Lagos Island, a bona fide Eko blue blood, choose to set up his business organization, including his signature, the first Islamic English Education Foundation Academy, in Okota of all places? And why would he eventually settle there with his family for good? In a status-conscious society such as ours, and in the face of the island-mainland dichotomy that prevails in Lagos in particular.
At the time I acquired the property here, this place called Okota, in fact, most average Nigerians, they cannot even afford, if there is any that time, and of course there wasn't any, afford the accommodation in this place called Okota. I can remember some 40 years plus back, Okota used to be called Victoria Island of Lagos. Those are the came after us. I don't want to use their term. I'm only telling you. That's how expensive. Okota, as at that time, I think of that time, more expensive than today called Banana Island. For you to be able to acquire property in this so-called Okota of a place. But that's a whole story now. Don't forget, Okota was so strategically placed, especially for those of us that are entrepreneur, business people. Proximity to all the seaports and the possibility to all the national, international airports. So, it makes it easier for us to travel out and come back, not going through the hassle of traffic all over the place.
The working class hustle and bustle of Okota is a world away from the chic glamour and elegance of the island, with its fashionable tree-lined neighborhoods, its fine waterfront residences, and the sleek automobiles that ply its broad avenues.
I did not acquire this property for what it is today. I acquired it as a place for holiday. Well, it was quite far. Don't forget, I'm a Lagos Island person. Okota was quite far. Okota, to me, just like my mother would tell you that time, my mother says Okota is out of Lagos. Okota is so Okota was quite far. Because at the time I acquired this Okota, I live in Surulere. But at the time I developed Okota, I moved to Victoria Island. So even from Surulere to here is far. How much more Victoria Island to this place is quite far. But eventually, I developed the place for my holiday resort. And then I'll be coming out for holiday, seeing it as a very far place, as a Western region, as we normally call it those days. As eventually, the issue of Islam propagation setting into my life. Yes, I've gotten this property and the building here some 7 years before turning to what it is today in 1985. It has been here before I used it in 1985 for what it is now. So all that time it was just abandoned here. More or less the most first of its kind in this Okota axis. More or less about the first story building of modern design. That then in some late 70s like that.
Àsìkò kan gbogbo àdúgbò yìí ó jẹ́lẹ̀ omi tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé Fayef ẹni Fayef fún rẹ̀ òun ló ṣe kò kárí bí gbogbo àdúgbò yìí wọ́n ṣe fíìlì ẹ̀ tómi kú òǹbẹ̀ òun ló lé omi kú ò.
His Eminence Prince Sheikh Mohammed Mansour Al-Mansour Williams' decision to go against the conventional practice in this regard speaks volumes about the essential character of the man.
Many people think that it's not possible, it's actually possible. If only and understand our environment and know what exactly we want. This place we are now, this recording is taking place, is so designed for not only for today, for the present, for the future, and for our retirement. So, give and take, we are going to retire here, and by the time we retire in here, we will still be functioning as we are functioning. It's so designed like that. We have our gardens designed here, already here for retirement. We have a terraces designed. We have the accommodation itself designed. So these are all that most of us in this part of the world needs to do. One, it will save us stress. It saves us a lot of money.
In spite of his advancing age, Sheikh Williams retains a youthful zest for life that is manifested in a rich and infectious sense of humor, as well as a seemingly boundless energy that will put many people half his age to shame. Not surprisingly, he is a health and wellness enthusiast who adheres to a strict diet and exercise regimen that has contributed to his age-defying looks. A humble and down-to-earth man, in spite of his aristocratic upbringing, he projects a palpable aura of contentment, as well as an air of confidence and optimism that constantly radiates from him like the rays of the rising sun.
For the years I've known him, I've never got any bad impression about his behavior, whether at home or in public places. And nobody has ever come to report any criminal or untoward behavior from him. So to me, he's a man of the people, he's a gentleman.
I know Sheikh is getting old, and I know he's never tired, and I know until he leaves the earth, he will continue to remain the person he is. He can't change his style because of age. And I pray that God give him long life. So that, and I also pray that people emulate him and try to impact others too.
My wish for them is for God, for Allah to spare their lives so that they will experience, even if it is not all, bits or part of why Fayev Academy was set up.
Èrò mi sí wọn ni wípé ọjọ́ tí ń wà lórí wọn àti ìyàwó wọn nísìnyí ibi tọ́jọ́ náà dé yìí ọjọ́ àdálẹ́, but mo wish wípé nínú àwọn ọmọ wọn kán jẹ́ kó mójútó iléèwé yìí, torí tọ́jọ́ bá dálẹ́ kí iléèwé yìí kó má parun, kó má gẹ́tọ̀, kó má lọ bẹ́ẹ̀, kán jẹ́ kí inú àwọn ọmọ wọn àìdá kan àbí méjì irú iṣẹ́ tọ́wọ́n ń ṣe yìí kọ́wọn ọmọ wọn understand ẹ̀, kán mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀, kán lè gbé iléèwé ìdúró, kán lè gbé lárugẹ. Mo wish láti jẹ́ pé kán ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀.
I feel like there's a certain age you get when you feel like, oh, someone has achieved much in life. So I feel like achieve is very subjective because what is achieved, like different things. But I would say, I know he's very proud of Fayev. So even if I look at it from that angle, I know that just being able to have grown Fayev this long and to this extent as well, I think definitely is something that is a big feat in itself, that even I can attest to, that is being able to achieve successfully. And I think obviously having a family as well, this close-knit, and being able to keep everyone together in itself, being able to train all his kids very well.
I love my dad so much. I wish him the very best of good health, of more strength, of peace, of joy and laughter.
Long before it became the so-called new normal in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic that swept across the globe in 2019 and 2020 and forced authorities everywhere to impose rigorous lockdowns that kept people within the confines of their homes for days, weeks and months on end, the practice of working and conducting his business empire from home was already an integral part of everyday life for Sheikh Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansour Williams. In a world that is undergoing rapid and disruptive changes to the way we live and work, not only from COVID-19, but also from new technologies and previously unheard of sociological paradigms, the Sheikh has long been an enthusiastic proponent of this way of life. Moreover, as any resident of Lagos will tell you, commuting across this vast metropolis on a daily basis to and from work is a grueling affair with potentially disastrous consequences for one's physical and mental health as well as quality of life. As far as Sheikh Williams is concerned, working from home is a different, healthier and far more excellent alternative, and one that more people ought to imbibe for the sake of their sanity. As already mentioned, The motivation behind His Eminence Sheikh Prince Muhammad Mansour Al-Mansur Akinola Olabiyi Bodunrin Williams' decision to establish the first Islamic English Education Foundation Academy is driven by his concern for young people and his desire to help shape their destinies and enhance their prospects for a more glorious future, as reflected in his lifelong activism in pursuit of socio-economic justice in the society, the maintenance of high moral and technical standards in our educational system, and a genuine commitment to the general good on the part of our leaders and political office holders. By extension, FAEF Academy reflects his hopes for the larger Nigerian nation as a whole, and his determination to ensure that in the long term, FAEF Academy will serve as a catalyst towards the attainment of our collective quest for a just and prosperous nation, and for the continued sustenance of our most cherished values as a democratic society driven by an unflinching faith in the power and providence of a faithful, just and merciful God. Alhamdulillah.
ọmọọba àdó ọmọọba akínṣemọyìn ọmọ olúkòkun àgánrún owó ọmọọba àlùfọ̀n moko mẹ̀bí ọmọ adíjọ́náwó bowó nú jẹ́ ọmọ àyìnmí ní ọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ ọ̀bí ní aróguntayò ọmọ òsínwìnìgbéwìnìkọ ó fi nǹkan wìnìwìnì tọkọ̀ ṣe ọmọ alówó lọ́kọ̀ bí òyìnbó dé tán owó òun pọ̀ sí ọmọ òpè bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní gàdú gànràn ọmọ wọn kì í fọkọ́ ró wọn kì í fàdá ró bí a kò ró a kò gbọdọ̀ kúrò nídìí ẹ̀ ọmọ àtùpà gàdú gànràn tó ń jóni lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń jó lọ́wọ́ wọn fi í banu ẹ̀gbẹ́ ìgangan kò ṣeé lù lẹ́sẹ̀ òun ràwọ̀ kó ṣe bí òṣùpá ẹni agbádé fún ládé yẹ ọmọ alápá òjàgbòkò fún yàn ó gbágbòtà ó fowó ẹ̀ fóbìnrin kábíyèsí akínṣemọyìn ọmọọba àdèlé ajósùn ọmọ òrókòrègi mátìdì ọmọ ọba àlùfọ̀n ọmọ olóde òkúta ọmọ àgbà òsínlú ìlú bàjẹ́ baálé ilé kú ilé daworo ọmọ dẹ́ngẹ̀ tutù lẹ́yìn ó gbóná nínú ọmọ òjì lóru kénini òbẹ́nini lókùnkùn ọmọ òṣùpá lé ẹni ògún ọ̀nà ọwọ́ ẹ̀ bá tó kó lọ tún ṣe ọmọ òsínwìnìgbéwìnìkọ ọmọ àgbààgbà tí ń gba ará àdúgbò ó gba sókènù ó gbà páàdì ó gba sódẹkẹ́ tọmọtọmọ à ń ròde ìráná à ń wo ìlú èkó lọ́kọ̀ọ̀kan akíkanjú ọmọ tó ń gbógun jálé bàbá ọmọ ògbọ́rọ̀ yẹ̀wò bí elédùmarè ọmọ kẹlẹ̀bẹ̀ òjò wú kò wù gèrè aráàbí ní aróguntayò ọmọ ta ni oníkòkò ń fojú di ọmọ òru là ń ṣèkà ọ̀sán là ń ṣèmẹ́lẹ́ ọmọ afíjú wọjà ó ní gbẹ̀ǹdẹ́kẹ́ ọ̀bùn wọjà pa ṣìọ̀ṣìọ̀ ọ̀bùn ṣìọ̀ṣìọ̀ ní rẹrù afíjú wọlé ọmọ bíbí eré kò ṣeé fowó rà ọmọ abẹ́kò ló jìjàdú ẹwà ọmọ eré jogún ọlá àtùpàdù gànràn ọmọ ọlọ́gbọ́n dorí ẹja mú ọmọ òdíyán ọmọ ogun lòdìbò ọmọ òbí ní aróguntayò ọmọ òdíyán ọmọ ogun lòdìbò ọmọ òbí ní aróguntayò ọmọ àrófọbabẹ́gùn ọmọ afẹ́lẹ́lẹ́ wọlé ọba ọmọ ẹni òbejì ọmọ ẹni bèjì ó yàṣọ ọmọ òyìnbó fòkun ṣọ̀nà ẹyẹ fojú ọ̀run ṣòdédé ọmọ afọbajẹ ìlú èkó ọmọ ajẹkọba tó jẹ elétò òrogun ẹnìkan ò lọ agbada ògbóná ìgbàdo òta ètò òsì ọba òjẹ kábíyèsí o kábíyèsí o kábíyèsí o.
Foreigners respect our culture than we in Nigeria. I'm telling you, there's money on this thing than cool oil they are talking about.
I'm very sorry to say that, unfortunately, we are killing our history by not exposing our children, by not showing them, by not celebrating our history.
A prophet is not appreciated in his own hometown, like they say. We have to do something about it to make us more aware of the beauty of our culture.
A lot of Nigerians don't know that this is the center of Nigeria. Somehow, we need to take what we have and sell it.
A lot of countries run on tourism. Look at Dubai. You go to Dubai and they take you to desert. Then you go and play with sand. I don't understand. While in Yobe here, we have those things. See, Nigeria is losing a lot.
This is a story of Nigeria that is hardly told. It's a celebration of her people, culture, and music. The world calls Nigeria the giant of Africa, but almost 200 million people call her home, thus making her the most populous country in Africa and the 7th most populous nation in the world. Nigeria is also Africa's biggest economy, ranking first in Africa in terms of agricultural output and 6th worldwide. Also, Nigeria is the largest producer of oil in Africa and the 11th largest in the world, with over 37.2 billion barrels of oil reserves. But is Nigeria really worth the hype? Can she be regarded as one of the most fascinating countries on the African continent with abundant human and material resources? Our journey to unravel Nigeria's rich culture first takes us to Kano, the 2nd largest city in Nigeria. In pre-colonial times, the Kingdom of Kano was an economic powerhouse. Traders were exporting goods like leather, quilted cotton, and dyed fabrics from Kano to northern African countries via camel caravans and then to Europe. In fact, what is popularly regarded as Moroccan leather were leatherworks by Kano craftsmen exported to Morocco through the Sahara Desert. Hausa at that time was the most widely spoken language in Africa after Swahili. Many centuries later, we've come to see if Kano's economic vibrancy still endures. Our first stop here is the biggest grain market in West Africa, located in Dawanau, Kano State. The first thing that caught our eyes were the bags, hundreds of them. And in the bags are all kinds of grains like white rice, brown rice, white beans, soya beans, maize, millets, and several other crops. And it's said that you can find just any type of food here. Dawanau Market was established 34 years ago, and in that time, they've established a reputation that keeps traders coming back.
Akwai bambance-bambance masu yawa tsakanin wannan kasuwar da sauran kasuwanni. Bambanci na farko shine kowace kasuwa da take ƙasar Najeriya idan ta siyo kaya ko an je an siyo kaya, ita wannan kasuwar tamu mai albarka ita ce kasuwar da ake kawo wannan kaya, domin ita ce kasuwar da ta fi kowace kasuwa ɗaukar baƙi masu sayan kaya. Shi kuma buƙatar ɗan kasuwa shine idan ya siyo kayansa ya samu mai saya ko ya samu gurin da zai sai da kayansa da sauri.
Traders from other African countries and as far as Europe, Asia, and America come here to source for farm crops to be eaten as food or to be used for research. And the trade value of the markets runs into billions of naira every day.
In ka siyo, nan za ka kawo ka samu mai saya cikin kwanciyar hankali, yanzu za a saya, yanzu za a baka kuɗinka. Da wannan kwatanta gaskiya da 'yan kasuwar Dawanau suke yana daga cikin matakin farko da ya kai wannan kasuwar matsayi da take a halin yanzu.
Kano was one of the major powers of sub-Saharan Africa, and not just for economic reasons. Kano has an age-long political history rooted in monarchy. From as far back as the 10th century, Hausa kings had been ruling independent states in Kano, debunking assertions that the people of Nigeria were uncivilized before colonization. To better understand our history, we're about to enter a time capsule to take us many centuries back. Welcome to National Museum Gidan Makama Kano, a place that holds answers to questions of the Kano civilization. In 1442, the 17th king of Kano, King Abdullahi Barja, built the structure as a residential complex for his grandson. When Barja's grandson later became a senior councillor in the king's palace, or Makam Kano, the house came to be known as Gidan Makam Kano, meaning House of the Senior Councillor.
When the British came in 1903, they conquered Kano and they took over Kano in 1903. And when they took over, having seen the historical significance of this house, it was declared as national monument in 1959. And it was divided into 3 parts. The first part was converted to a museum, declared open to public in 1985. And the second part was given to the Makam Kano. And the last part of the house, they established an elementary school, now Gidan Makama Girls Junior Secondary School.
Our visit here coincided with the excursion tour of Hannan International College. One of the teachers tells me the students are here because of the need to learn about the history of Nigeria and to better appreciate our identity.
I'm very sorry to say that, unfortunately, we are killing our history by not exposing our children, by not showing them, by not celebrating our history, by not, showcasing what we have. Look at history of 700 years, 800 years, 400 years. Look at this building that's been standing for over half a millennium. And it's still standing and it's magnificent. This is local indigenous technology, indigenous knowledge. So it's something that we really need to revive.
Since Gidan Makam Kano became a museum 59 years ago in 1959, tourists from all over the world come here to see the wonders of ancient Kano, like weapons of war, royal attires for the Durbar festival, musical instruments, and even a vintage experience of what a traditional room in Kano looked like.